Pikachu.
I started off my journey like most new trainers do, leaving home. I checked my computer to find that I had an email from my friend Xavier, who soon showed up. He was here to remind me that today would be the day Professor Oak would give us our first Pokémon, officially making us Pokémon trainers, but of course I couldn't have possibly forgotten. After speaking with my mom, I stepped out into our beautiful hometown, Pellet Town. I decided to explore the place for old time's sake, taking a look at Xavier's house as well as the lab. I never questioned the fact that his house had no stairs, considering the fact that it appears to be the same model as my house, but it didn't stay on my mind for too long. I noticed Professor Oak was standing on the other side of the tall grass on Route 1, so I decided to see what he was up to. It seemed he was studying some wild Pidgey, but before I could ask him what exactly he was trying to learn, a Pikachu of all things appeared from the grass and approached me. The professor thought this would be a good opportunity to teach me about catching Pokémon, and upon the first Pokéball, the Pikachu became my partner. Before I could pick up its Pokéball, it began to bounce around in a manner neither the professor nor I had ever seen before, and with such force that it pushed through the door of the Pokémon lab and landed upon the table with Oak's other Pokémon. As I approached it, Lucy the Pikachu appeared before us and quickly took a liking to me. From this moment on, our destinies were one and the same. Our journeys were now intertwined. This is the beginning of our quest through Kanto. Xavier chose a Pokeball from the table and received an Eevee, but I was far too preoccupied with Lucy. As we attempted to leave the lab, the professor stopped us and gave us a device known as a Pokédex. It allows us to collect data on Pokemon we find or catch on our journeys, with the end goal of helping the professor with his research. Lucky for him, I have my own goal. I want to catch every unique Pokemon I can find in Kanto and complete the Pokédex. Now that I have it, it's time to get a move on. To my surprise, my mother was waiting outside. I gave her and Lucy a chance to become acquainted with each other and let her know that I'll be leaving. Thankfully, my mom was understanding and even excited for me. She gave me a town map, which was a nice gesture, despite me knowing Kanto like the back of my hand. I've been planning exactly where to go and which Pokemon I want to battle alongside for a while now, and I can't wait to find each one. Even better, the first is right next to Pallet. Within moments, I encounter my first new party member, an Oddish. It stays in the first Pokeball, and I'm surprised to see that Lucy even gained some experience thanks to it. I named him Nathan and welcomed him aboard our merry quest. While I don't have plans to use it like I do with Nathan, I decided to catch Kanto's most common bird, Pidgey, and I named it Swift. As I approached Viridian City, something in a nearby bush caught Lucy's eye, so I decided to check it out. It ended up being a raspberry, which was invaluable for catching Pokemon on this journey. I then spoke to youngster Ronnie, who requested I battle him once he brings his favorite Pokemon with him. I assumed it was a Weedle, seeing as he had one on his shirt. Now in Viridian City, I decided to talk to everyone I can. It's always a joy to meet nice people and learn new things. While most of them tell me things I already know, I don't mind, and one leads me to a magazine rack in the back of the Pokemon Center, where I read an interesting article about something called secret techniques. Perhaps I'll learn to perform some of them someday. Interestingly, the Pokemon Center's healing machine is undergoing maintenance. Luckily, Lucy is fine, but I'd hate to be a trainer with a hurt Pokemon at a time like this. Although, Nurse Joy seems to have a Chansey of her own, so perhaps it can use its healing abilities to help Pokemon in the meantime. While continuing my exploration, Lucy runs off for something again. This time, she simply wanted to stop and take in the smell of some nearby flowers. I decided to join her, and it was a nice scent. There was a man outside the Pokemart who, surprisingly, had a parcel for Professor Oak. Despite it prolonging my Pokemon adventure a bit more, I agreed to take the parcel back to Pallet. Before that, though, I bought some potions just to ensure Lucy would be able to get out of any potential trouble. After racing back to the lab, I gave the professor the parcel, and Lucy decided she wanted to ride on my shoulder. I've not done a single battle with this adorable creature, and yet I feel such a powerful bond with it. Xavier also returns to the lab, and the professor gives us each some more raspberries. As I attempt to leave, Xavier challenges me to our very first Pokemon battle, Pikachu vs Eevee. I honestly expected to have the upper hand in this battle, but to my surprise, his Eevee was already level 6 just like Lucy. Thankfully, Lucy is powerful and wins the battle with only a few Thunder Shocks. With the battle won, it's finally time for the quest to begin, with nothing holding us back but our own will to explore. As I leave the town, I'm surprised to find Xavier's older sister, who gives me some clothes for Lucy to wear. Lucy hops on my arm, so I pet her a bit, and give her an adorable hat. On Route 1, I also find a Pokemart clerk who gives me a potion, which was nice of him. As I approach Viridian yet again, Ronnie grabs my attention, but this time he's ready for battle. It turns out his favorite Pokemon is not Weedle, but actually Rattata, a fine choice nonetheless. With a Thunder Shock and a Quick Attack, Lucy emerges victorious, and we continue on. While this is only the start of our journey, I felt a desire to take a look at the Pokemon League, giving myself a visual to strive for. After finding a few Pokeballs just sitting around, I enter the grass to find a Spearow, who I name Nancy. Unsure of how exactly experience points work, I remove both Swift and Nancy from the party, leaving only Lucy and Nathan, who is now walking alongside me. Trying to get a closer look at the league, I happen to run into Xavier again, and we have another battle. Lucy makes quick work of his newly captured Pidgey, and Nathan struggles to take on Eevee. After a few hits, I decide to just allow Lucy to take control and fight Eevee, which she does quite handily, bringing Nathan up to level 5. In the grass near the entrance to the league, I come across a Nidoran male and capture it, naming it Destroya and moving it to the Pokemon box. Surprise, surprise, the guards won't actually let us inside the league, so we head back to the Pokemon Center. Leaving Viridian, I encounter a bug-type Pokemon called Weedle, which I catch and name Blue. With little hesitation, I enter the Viridian Forest, a forest bursting at the seams with bug Pokemon and trainers. After a quick battle, I find Caterpie. Feeding it a raspberry and throwing a couple Pokeballs, Butterful the Caterpie is sent to the Pokemon box. I also decide that, despite having my sights set on another Flying-type Pokemon, I should bring Nancy along with us to deal with Bug and Grass types, and she returns to the team. Then, appearing before me as if by magic, is the Pokemon known as Mew. I don't fully understand where it came from, nor do I particularly care, so I welcome it to the party, naming it Delia. I soon encounter Last Brittany, whose Nidoran female allows Lucy to reach level 9 and learn the move Double Kick, which will no doubt be useful. As I continue through the forest, taking on trainer after trainer, I come across an item known as a lure, which will supposedly allow me to find rare Pokemon more easily. Having defeated the last trainer in the forest, Bugcatcher Sammy, I decide to test it out for myself, and sure enough, a Bulbasaur appeared. It's one of my favorite Pokemon, so I use a raspberry to make sure it stays in the Pokeball. It does, and Titan the Bulbasaur is sent to the Pokemon box. As I leave the forest, I finally see Pewter City, and who else waiting for me but my rival Xavier. This time, however, he's not itching to battle, and instead gives me 5 potions, which I greatly appreciated. Around the city, citizens are raving about the gym leader, Brock, as well as the Pokemon Museum. Ancient Pokemon are fascinating to me, so I visit the museum first, and get a chance to see plenty of fossils as well as some chunks of meteors and a replica of a space shuttle. After seeing everything the museum has to offer, I find a woman outside the museum with a Slowpoke. She asks me if I'd be willing to look after her Pokemon while she visits the museum, and I agree. I had a good relaxing time with Slowpoke, and I hope to catch one of my own someday. With the city now explored, it's time to take on my first ever Pokemon gym. As it turns out, Brock uses Rock-type Pokemon, which is perfect for Nathan, who I show to the gym guide in order to gain access to the battlers. Both of his gym trainers battle with Geodude, and its 4 times weakness to grass allows Nathan to tear through them, leading me to challenge Brock immediately. He begins with a Geodude of his own. It's a bit higher level than Nathan, but after using Growth 2 times to raise his special attack, my small grass buddy is able to knock the rock out in one shot with Absorb, nearly filling his own health back up in the process. Brock's second and final Pokemon is the massive Onix. It's very powerful, and even flinches Nathan on its first turn in the battle, but Nathan is able to bring the pain with Absorb on the next turn, felling the giant beast with one attack. Thanks to Nathan, I emerged victorious, and received the Boulder Badge from Brock. He also gave me TM01, an item that lets me teach Headbutt to any Pokemon it's compatible with. Triumphant, I exit the gym only to be awestruck by the sight of the famous Pokemon trainer and grandson of the professor, Blue Oak, standing in front of me. He even gifted me some Great Balls, which will be much more effective at catching Pokemon than standard Pokeballs ever will be. I returned to the Pokemon Center, satisfied with my victory, and ready to continue on another day.